Hello and welcome to week 5 of my Gilman vlog. This week I'm going to be going over this month and just sort of what's happened, how life is here in England, and I think I'm going to be doing this every week. I mean, not every week, every month. Kind of go over, I don't know, lessons learned, experiences had, observations made here in England, about my time. So I think first I'll go over living here in England. Laundry here is kind of interesting. It's like sort of all little laundry mats, laundrettes is what they're called here, that you have for each different house's living accommodations. Ours is not too far away, but it is kind of a bit of a walk, which can be annoying if the weather's not great, but luckily it doesn't get too cold here. One thing that I would mention is that it's like really expensive to do laundry here. I know back home it's just a few quarters to do like a wash, and the same for a dryer, but here it's like 3 or 4 pounds for one load to wash, and then 2 pounds to dry for an hour, though an hour is often not enough. So I don't know. That's kind of lame. There's also shopping. So because we don't have a car here, because that would be expensive and everybody drives on the wrong side of the road. For them it's the right side, but for us it's the wrong side. It's kind of weird and freaky. And also we're not rich, so we can't just buy a car when we're studying abroad. So we gotta take the bus. There are a lot of bus stations, and the bus schedule is pretty regular, so it's not too terribly difficult to take a bus. Just makes the trips like a bit longer on both ends. And luckily for us, the university has this bus on Wednesday that's just takes you straight to the grocery store, and it's free. And this grocery store is called Sainsbury's. So if you're not here, that probably doesn't make any sense. But it takes you straight to Sainsbury's. It's called the Sainsbury bus, and it's for free. And then if you're trying to come back on that same bus, if you have a receipt of like £5 spent or more, then they take you back. And it's only on Wednesdays, and there's not a lot of classes or anything on Wednesdays. I think it's all on purpose so that people can like go get groceries. Though sometimes if you have like a really booked schedule, you'll have to have a practical on Wednesday or a field trip. Like this next Wednesday, we have a field trip going to the aquarium, which is going to be amazing. I'll talk about it at some point, probably in my next This Month in Review video. Getting the like basic necessities and medicine. A lot of products and stuff are named way different here. There's not a lot of like large bags of chips. There's just like a large bag that contains smaller bags of chips, which I found very confusing. And then there's like water bottles. A lot of water bottles here have little, like the caps sort of stay on the water bottle, so it's easier to recycle, I guess. And they do kind of do a lot more recycling here that I've noticed. And outside of that, the names of products are just different, kind of bizarre, which I suppose makes sense. The stuff that's worked in the US doesn't obviously always work out in other countries. And they have different food laws and regulations here, so a lot of the food itself actually seems like healthier. And then medicine also has some different names for different medications, and some medications that you don't need prescribed in the US, you do need prescribed here. A good example of that is melatonin. So if you want melatonin, you gotta go to a GP, which is like a general physician, which is like the US equivalent of a primary care provider. And then they can like prescribe it to you, I guess. This seems kind of weird. I don't take melatonin because I think it's probably not great for you. But, yeah. And then there's like another drug, which is acetaminophen or Advil, whatever you want to call it. But here it's called paracetamol. That's really different for whatever reason. As for eating out, so here on the Lancaster University campus, there's like a ton of places to eat, which is really cool, but also like a great way to run out of money pretty quickly. But it's not too expensive for eating out. For what it is, it's not that expensive because, like, the meal plan here, you can get a meal for about £6.50, which I think is what they call, like, the cents equivalent, but it's called pence here, and which is about $8, maybe a bit more than $8 per meal, but they're like pretty good meals. And outside of that, you can only get those meals at like 5 different locations. So you are limited, but when you're on this meal plan, you do save a good bit of money. And I don't know, there's probably maybe 10 or 12 different places to eat on campus, and it's really nice because when you eat out, you don't have to tip here. I don't like tipping back home. If you ask Aria, she'll say that I bring it up every time we go out to eat, because I do. I think tip culture is terrible, a relic of the Great Depression. But whatever, that is not what this video is about. But I don't like tips. So that's nice. If you don't like tips, it'll be a breath of fresh air. Academics, I think with academics, it's kind of different than the U.S. in a few ways. One, their schedule system, what they call timetables, at least here at Lancaster, are kind of crazy. In your first year, you take all 100 level classes. In the second year, you take all 200 level classes. In the third year, you take all 300 level classes. So when you have students coming from abroad who are taking 1, 2, and 3 level classes sort of mixed up, their schedules aren't designed for that, and they don't have like the same time, like, schedule structure that we do. So it's like you're not meeting at 3 to 4 every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You're meeting at some random times throughout the week that they've somehow magically believe is going to work, which it does for most of their students, apparently. That is what I'm told. It just does not work well for international students most of the time. So you have to be like really careful and check through your whole schedule to make sure that there's no conflicts that can't be remedied. As for the content itself, I don't think it's any more challenging of content than in the U.S., but their way of grading courses is really different because you have like a few major bits of coursework, maybe 1 or 2, that are graded, and everything else is not graded. And then you have an exam. Some classes are just an exam, some classes are just coursework, but it's not like continual grading throughout the term. It's just once or twice that give you a grade for something, and that is your full grade. And here in the UK, they do a grading system where 70% is an A, which is kind of nice because I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but there's always that professor when you're writing some essay or something and they decide that you can only get 90-something% because while they don't say that it has any flaws necessarily, they're like, well, it could always be better, which is garbage, So you could get like a 100% equivalent here in the UK, which would be an 80%. They'd be like, wow, this was an amazing paper. And, you can feel pretty good because, I don't know, they use the whole range of the grading scale here. And, like, it's not 50% to fail. To fail, it's like 30%, which is pretty low. As for how it is socially, right now I'm really just playing Pathfinder Savage Worlds on Thursdays. It's a tabletop RPG. Not a lot of people know about it, but it's like a different type of D&D. And there's some ways to make friends, but it's not always like super easy. Aria's made some friends with the people who she used to be living with, which is nice, and they've gone out quite a few times, which is pretty cool. And they've invited me to go rock climbing with them, which I'm going to try and do. I haven't gone rock climbing since I broke my hip, so we'll see how that goes, but hopefully it's not too bad. anyways, that's this month in review. Over the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I have actual assignments due, which is going to be really interesting. Let's see how that goes, and I don't know when they grade things, but hopefully that doesn't take too long, or else I'm just going to be sitting there anxiously wondering what I get. I think after those first 2 assignments, so around the 20th, I'm going to be doing my Gilman-specific stuff, my Gilman-specific videos to go over how that stuff actually works so I can get like a lot of research in and have those pretty well developed. So I think next week, I don't know what I'm going to go over. I'll figure it out.